different types of shells really, really easily. And you're going to have 3 types. And no, you don't have to know these, but that's just so that way you can kind of get an idea what these will look like.
We read that before.
Okay, you've got solid shot, okay, it's the one on the left. It's now cone-shaped. It can now go approximately 2,200 yards fired out of the cannon. Okay, so over a mile now you have a range where prior is about 200 yards. Okay, so you've multiplied the range of an artillery shell by 6 times within just 10 years. The next one is called shell. And what they're going to do is they're going to have gunpowder inside a hollowed out iron shell. They're going to have a wooden plug on the bottom with a silk fuse. When the cannon gets fired, the gunpowder is going to light that silk fuse, and it's going to go a certain distance. And after that fuse hits the powder, going to explode, making a new term that you probably all know with like Call of Duty, shrapnel. Okay, and basically the shards are going to now be going on top of someone. Okay, so more or less it wants to explode in the air, and the shards of iron are going to go down on those battle lines that we used. Okay. Last one is called canister. 21 golf ball lead balls and a little tin can that turns the cannon into a shotgun. Okay? And all it is like basically like a small coffee can, 21 golf balls packed in sawdust, and when it gets fired, the can immediately erupts, and you've got about a 200-yard range shotgun that can just wreck a line. Same thing about a line of 2 people and 21 lead golf balls hitting that line. Not a good time, okay? All of these are going to increase all the fatalities on the battlefield. Then you've got what's going on in the Navy, a thing called an ironclad. I'd like to get this down. March of 1862, the modern Navy as we know it is going to appear. We're going to go from traditional wooden ships like the Brig Niagara into completely covered metal ships. What was the 3 parts of the Anaconda plan? Talked about it, you made the map on it yesterday. 3 parts. Done it?
You take over the Mississippi,
Capture
take
Mississippi?
the capital,
The
and
capital?
shut off trade routes to the south.
Okay, blockade the Atlantic, okay? What if the Confederacy made a ship that was unsinkable? It would blow up the blockade, okay? That's what they were proposing, was if you make a ship that is unsinkable and you can destroy it, you can destroy all their fleets. No Atlantic blockade, Confederacy now will never be surrounded by the Anaconda plan. So the Confederacy doesn't have enough naval power, naval industry to make a new ship. So they're going to raise an old American ship that was in the harbor of Norfolk, Virginia, and they're going to plate it in metal on the outside. And what that's going to do is, now you have made a ship that in the 1860s cannot be sunk by conventional artillery. I'll show you what it looks like in a second. The Union hears the same thing, and they decide they're going to try to make their own version of a completely covered metal ship. And what they're going to decide to do is, instead of making a ship that has metal surface throughout, like basically encased on top of a wooden ship, what they decide on doing is make a ship with no surface area and only a turret that can rotate 360 degrees to then fire at any target at any time. Because what was the biggest problem with old wooden ships? When could you only fire at your opponent?
You're on the right side of you.
When you're on the left or right side of you, on the broad side. Okay, you can't shoot at them from the front. You can't shoot at them really from the back. But if you can shoot at them from the sides, that's your only opportunity. With the Union ship's plan is, I can hit you anytime, any place if I'm in range. Okay, which really scared people. So this is what we get. We get the USS Merrimack turned into the CSS Virginia. versus the USS Monitor. Now this is what a wooden ship looks like, okay? Don, you turn the lights off for me? When a cannonball, okay? When a cannonball hits a wooden ship, all the surface area, okay, takes the hit of that cannonball, okay? And when it bounces, it's going to cause damage on the wooden side of the ship because it's taking all the force of the cannonball. What happens when a cannonball hits wood planks? Splinters, it explodes. If you remember, if you've ever been to the Niagara tour, supposedly a guy gets a splinter from his shoulder down to his groin. Okay, supposedly survives. That's a heck of a splinter, right? That's a big pair of tweezers. Okay, so how do you prevent that from harming your crew? Cover it in metal. Okay, this is what the CSS Virginia looks like. Okay, this is of course a model. Okay, and what's going to be is the surface of the water will be up here. And so all you'll see is the sloped armor and the 4 guns. And they're going to have a gun up here, here, and here. And so they can fire basically at every angle. Why do you use sloped armor? Anyone know? Why do you use sloped armor instead of flat armor?
If the enemy attacks, the cannonballs will roll off.
Exactly. Surface area. Okay? How this works is this. If this is the sloped armor, watch what the cannonball is going to do. It's going to do this. I missed. Okay. That always works. Let's try that again. This is what you get for having a child bath toy. All right, here we go. There again. It bounces and continues on. Okay? So it's going to deflect. I know, right? Okay. So it's going to deflect. It's going to deflect the majority of the damage and continue on, whereas if it hits a flat surface, it's going to take all the force of that cannonball. This is what it looked like inside of it. It's completely done by steamship now. It's going to be so effective, the Union side is going to use something like this. This is what the Monitor looks like. Okay, it's going to have a turret that's going to be able to rotate 360. 12-inch guns, so pretty large. That's what the cutout looks like. This is what it looks like on the water. Okay? Now, here's the big question. Who won?
That looks horrible. Yeah. Neither.
Does this one win,
Nope.
or does the Merrimack win? Who says the Confederate Merrimack wins? All right. Who says the Monitor wins? Okay. Who says no one wins? They sank. Okay. It is a tie because neither of the cannonballs can pierce the armor, nor because the ships are moving, nor can the Merrimack hit anything that actually causes permanent damage. The only major thing that happens here is one cannonball hits the Merrimack's turret right in between the 2 windows, knocks the whole crew back, and breaks the turret so it's always spinning. Okay? So for the rest of the battle, it's just constantly spinning. The lieutenant inside the turret actually throws up. So now there's vomit all over the deck. It's just a mess. Well, question?
So how did both sides know that they were making metal ships?
Spies, espionage. They knew. And so what happens is the Confederates start this, the Union hears about it, and they're like, oh my gosh, they're going to destroy us. And so what they decided to do is they get a ship designer to make it. Believe it or not, this is designed and built in less than 100 days. Actually pretty impressive. They would know how long a current aircraft carrier takes to be built, the modern aircraft carrier?
5 years.
It's on average 3 to 5 years of development and production. Yeah, not too bad, guys. Yeah, 3 to 5 years to make. So having something like this, obviously much simpler, much smaller. Okay, 100 days to build really quickly. The irony is this: both of these ships are going to be sunk by storms. Monitor goes off the coast of Chesapeake, Virginia, by the Outer Banks, and hits a really bad storm, capsizes, sinks. And currently, a museum in Norfolk, Virginia, has the turret. They brought the turret up. but the rest of the ship was too damaged. The Merrimack was off the coast of Virginia, and again, that got sunk because of a storm. Hunter?
How big were they?
They were, and if you go to the museum, that's actually a model, like a direct to scale size. It's probably about 90 feet for the monitor, probably about 90 feet, and then the other one's probably about 120 feet. So I mean, these are big, these are big. And then the thing is that this one had bigger guns, but obviously it has less guns. And these two ships, when they go at it, basically bounce shells off each other. The one thing they were worried about was having this ship go up the Chesapeake Bay and attack Washington, D.C. And so the Monitor actually stops it from doing that. When the Monitor first hits the U.S. Navy, before the Monitor arrives though, it sinks 7 wooden ships in a single day with no damage to it. It just wrecks the U.S. fleet that was around Virginia. And people were terrified that this thing was just going to sink all the U.S. ships one by one and just destroy our U.S. Navy. This is one of the reasons why England and France doesn't come to help the Confederacy, is because all of their wooden ships are completely obsolete the moment this battle happens. It completely changes the game for the U.S. Navy and really the global Navy.
So how did they hear that they had those
What's that?
ships? How did they hear that they had those iron ships?
Like with the rope,
Yeah.
there was actually a telegraph wire underneath the Atlantic Ocean by 1848.
So they said like, yo, you got this.
Yeah, yeah, they're like big iron ship, and then there was newspaper reporters from London in the United States heard about the reports, saw the pictures, and they're like, "Oh crap!" Yeah, like they were pretty terrified. Some of the early prototypes of the Monitor, not so good. That could be a problem. Like fire at each other, wah wah. So this is trying to bust the Anaconda plan for the blockade. The North is now trying to take parts of the Mississippi, and they're going to take the northern part of it with the Battle of Shiloh. I'd like you to get this down. The Battle of Shiloh is an absolute terrifying wake-up call for most Americans. It's a 2-day battle, happens in the 6th and 7th of 1862. This is outside in Tennessee. And eventually the Union Army is going to win this. How does a smaller army beat a larger army? Any ideas? How does a larger army defeat a smaller army? Ethan?
Oh, I thought you said that. I don't know.
You mean smaller?
I'm sorry, how does a small, how does a smaller army defeat a bigger army? There we go. That way I don't make another mistake on it. Go ahead.
That kind of surrounding area, maybe?
But the army's bigger than yours. So how are you going to be able to surround it if you're smaller?
Spread out.
Yeah, that's still not going to win though. Will?
I was gonna say it would be the way Obi-Wan Kenobi cut off Anakin's legs. He has the high ground.
Okay. Have the high ground. That always helps. Okay. But that's how you defend against a larger army, which you're right. Okay. How do you defeat a larger army if you're the smaller one, Dominic?
You have to hit it in small attacks using like guerrilla warfare.
Exactly. So, for instance, if you're a smaller army, we'll say just 2 lines, okay, and you've got an army that's facing you that has 4 lines, okay, what you want to do is have happen is you want this army to be split up into different parts, and when they're out and separated, you're going to attack that as quickly as possible, break that one army, and break it into parts instead of attacking it all at one time. That make sense? And so that's what the Confederacy is going to do that day. The Union Army split because of the Tennessee River, and only half the army's on the one side. And on the first day, the Confederates are going to push them all the way to the Tennessee River at a place called Pittsburgh Landing. And Grant almost loses this battle immediately on day 1. They're gonna push them all the way to the river, and the Union on the end of the first day is right about in this area. On the second day, the rest of the reinforcements come in and basically push them back.